Hello everybody, and we are back at Adobe Live with a brand new episode of How to Graphic Design. Today we're going to be diving into creating a greeting card that you can use for all sort of things. You can use it to share your picture of your holidays. You can share it to wish well in any sort of season and festivities. So I really look forward to show you how to create the greeting card. In particular, we're going to be working in print and in Adobe Illustrator. We're also going to jump in Photoshop. If you wish, we may also have a little chat, have a little open up of a little dive into InDesign as well, depending on your request. Our base app will be Illustrator to start with, but I look forward to see your comment. I am reading currently the chat that is on behance.net/live, but welcome to everybody watching on YouTube and Behance. And for those of you who are joining live, remember you can work with me. I actually have a template coming up, so you can actually join the template and work together, or you can very simply just watch and relax, and then maybe bookmark this particular stream, because this is always available on replay on the Adobe Creative Cloud channel. For those of you who are joining with me just right now, I'm your host, Kladi, an Italian designer based in Manchester, UK. So if you hear a bit of an accent, it's because I travel a lot, lived in the States, lived in the UK, lived in Italy, lived in Spain. Hablamos español, italiano, inglés, whatever you want. No, I'm just joking. This is only in English, but I look forward to see where everybody's tuning in from. I can see Umacron, Ashrad, Steve, Barbara. Thank you so much for Carol for tuning in and joining from the previous stream. We were actually having fun in Illustrator. In fact, do not forget that we have the Illustrator challenge every single day. So show up on Adobe Live and sharpen your skills and learn new techniques alongside our wonderful community. I think I've been blabbing enough, and it's time for you to jump and retrieve that greeting cards template that I've been talking about. So come and join me on my website is iamkladi.com, and let me go ahead and jump into the website. Let's see if we can have a little bit of a look here. Here you will see that on my website you will be able to find a lot of resources. Under the resources pages, the freebies in particular will take you to this specific stream, and in here you will be able to download and access the card template. If you click on card template, it would automatically ask you to download a file. Is a file that I've uploaded, is an Illustrator template. I'm going to go ahead and select the desktop and click on save. And you will see that this is the actual file. So actually I have it opened over here. And that's what it looks like. So this is a template of a half letter size. So a letter size is normally 210. So it's like a normal letter pages, but what I've done here is that I've selected the pages, and I'm actually going to show you how to set it up, just in case you want to do it by yourself, or in the future you're looking to start from scratch, but you have access to this template. So it's up to you. Again, I'm going to show and run through the basics, but again, I wanted to give you the opportunity to start with this template file that you can find on my website. In there, a ton of resources as well, so don't be shy. Go ahead, say hi. There is also a form for this particular show at iamkladi.com/how-to. Any suggestion in general about the stream or anything that you want to learn, iamkladi.com/how-to is the place where you can send me your design requests. And also you can watch all the wonderful replay, how to design a mood board and how to design a poster. We've done all sort of stuff. We had a lot of fun together, so you can always go back and watch these replays. Brilliant. So this is the starter file. For those of you that are in the chat, let me go and see. We talked about it if you've been here with me before, and if you've not, absolutely not a problem. I'm here to share it together. But before I keep going, I want to know in the chat if you guys know what is this red line hanging outside the artboard. Here we go. I know that there is a little bit of delay, so I'm going to give you a few minutes. And in the meantime, that I look for answers in the chat regarding this red line. What it's about? How do we call it? While you let me know, I'm going to go ahead and show you a little bit more about this structure of the document. So this chunky pink reddish border that you have inside, those are just safe margin. They're there to show you what is the safe area for you to place the document. So in this case, this is the outer. If we go ahead and use the Shift O or access the artboard tool and we select it, we can see that I've actually named the artboard, so whenever you export it is easier. So this is the outer face. So we need to imagine, oh gosh, these pages that I have here are so big. Let's imagine this is literally half the size of the page that I want to show you. So this is like an A3 instead of an A2. There we go. Let's do it in a half, and we automatically transform our A3 in an A2 real quick. So I'm maybe going to jump into my landing, so that's a little bit easier. Fantastic. So here we have this page over here, which is then being split in half. And of course, when I talk about the outer version of our card, we have basically what is at the outside. So we have the cover, and then outside maybe you want to write your name or your Instagram or your website, anything like that. And of course the inside is that where you want to write your greetings, and then usually we leave the page that is inside the cover, we usually leave it empty, but you can always use it to write maybe some other comment. And let's go ahead and jump back into my screen here. So those are what these margins are about, are literally about creating a safe area for your content, again, in the outer face and the inner face of your document. Perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and open the layers panel, because that is the place where you can see that here I've actually named this layer to hide, because in fact we do not want these specific areas inside our document. So you can click on this icon and you can hide it. Further, this is also set, it's got this little different icon there because it's set as a template, so it's not editable and is automatically locked and made more transparent. Illustrator is asking me to give it a second, so we will. In the meantime, I want to go ahead to go and see if anybody has guessed what the red line is about. Carol, Becca, Barbara, Ryan, you got it right. Is the bleed mark. So the bleed mark is an area that extends outside our border. So this black line over here, I'm going to go ahead and hide my template. We have, and if you don't know it, it's absolutely fine. We're here to share. It's just that I've been talking about it quite a lot during the stream. So this red line is an area that extended outside the document. So if that's our margin, so the end of our document, that's where it's going to be trimmed by the printer, we extend the border a little bit outside, especially if we have color patterns or images. So whenever we or the printer are going to go and trim to size, if we go and trim our paper, we do not have any white item. If we just leave it exactly perfect to size, whenever we cut it, we might just go a little bit higher up, and you know, if we go lower, it's just gonna look a bit wonky, but if we go higher up, the white of the paper will show. By extending, do this little trick by extending this background, usually it's 3 millimeter or 0.125 inches, you will be able to extend the background, so we give ourselves or the printer a margin of error in order to trim your page and retain the background without having those ugly borderline that give it away that the job is not being trimmed correctly. So let's go ahead, because I also want to let's have a look at these layers real quick, and then let's jump into create a brand new one. I know that you guys have access to this template, but I think it's nice to know how to do that by yourself as well. So here I have different layers. Layers work like containers, and they allow us to have a control on our content by toggling the visibility, but also locking to preserve the appearance that we have created, so we can work safely and we can keep building our design. Usually I work with background at the bottom. The order of this layer stack matters, because whatever is contained in layers that are placed above will display above the object. So we want to make sure that our background sits at the very bottom. Then we have overlays. Maybe if we want to change different aspects of the background, we're gonna talk about blend modes in a second. Graphics, image, and text. I tend to keep text at the very top. If you want text hidden by graphics, all you have to do is to click and drag in order to reposition these layers. Click on the plus icon if you do wish to create a new layer. Double click on it to rename it. That easy. You want to delete it, select it, and click on the bin icon. And that's done for the layers panel. By the way, if you do not see the layers panel or any other panel that I will use and is present in my workshop, in my workspace, you can head on top of the window menu, and that is the home of every panel that lives inside Illustrator. So simply come here and then select any of the panels that you would like to use. In this case, libraries, I brought it up and we can use it there. Fantastic. So I'm just going to go ahead and hop real quick into the main home page for Illustrator, just because I want to show you how to set it up from scratch. In the meantime, let's see if we have any question in the chat. Is the template going to make 2 cards? Kladi is very stylish. Oh, big shout out to Sarah. I know that she watches the stream sometimes. Sarah is my nail artist here in Manchester from Cheeky Nails. I'm gonna give her a shout out. She's just done my nails today, so glad you guys noticed. That's so funny. Hi, Sarah. Right, fantastic. So I'm gonna go ahead and jump real quick here in the home page and show you how to get started. And by the way, real quick, PJ, is that template gonna make 2 cards? No, PJ. So what I've showed you before, one is the outer and one is the inner of the card. So that's why there is the little middle line. Again, Shift O to read the name. So this is the outer face. So this is gonna be basically your cover, you know, where you have your main image, and then the back, again, you can write your name or you can keep it bright. Oh gosh, as soon as I cover the light, I get all sort of things coming behind me. But anyway, and then you have the inner. So at the beginning we have the cover and then you have the inner. That's why you find 2 pages there. So you can literally print it back to front. But let me show you how to set it up like so. So again, I'm going to jump into the home page, welcome page here, Command N, or click on the blue button where it says new file in order to open a new document. From there, you want to select your intent for print, since this is a card that we're going to print out. And then here, what I've done, you can select letter size. That's most common in the US, Europe. A4 is the size that we use for printing. And this is the size of a stretched A4. So in this case, I'm going to change its orientation to a landscape by clicking on this little orientation icon here. So from portrait to landscape, it will tilt the paper. And you will see that it will go from having a width of 210. It will swap the width and the height. So we're literally rotating it. Don't forget to name it. I'm going to call this one greeting card how to. There we go. And then we're going to give, as I said, a bleed of 3mm or 0.125 inches if you're working in inches. Now, another beauty of setting your intent for print, because we already know and we want to make our file fit for the purpose of the project, which will be printing, we're going to be working with a CMYK Cyan Magenta Black, some Cyan Magenta Yellow and Black color mode, which is the color of any sort of inkjet, or if you're working with a lithographic machine, those are the colors that usually get printed, not necessarily in this order, but those are the 4 colors that make up all the rest of the color of your image. The raster effect or resolution of your images should be 300 ppi minimum for a normal format of print. Of course, a larger format will have a larger resolution, and this stands for pixel per inch or dot per inches when you print. And we're going to go ahead and simply click on create in order to open this document. So fantastic. This is exactly what I had before. Then again, the Alt Option key if you're working on a Mac, Alt if you're working on Windows, and drag to create an exact copy. And if you wish, like I did, to rename your artboard, simply select it, click on it. You will see the artboard options popping up. I'm going to call this one outer. Oops. Outer face, that's how it's usually called. And then of course the other one is going to be my inner face. So that's actually a folded greeting card. Now if you want here, you can also have the template like I did. It was simply literally creating a new layer, and then from here I press the letter M to create a rectangle. Make sure that you have your smart guides opened, so they're usually active by default here in Illustrator, but if you do not see them, those are those beautiful magenta lines that show you where is the center. They help you to align and make sure that everything is up to your grid and looks nice inside your document. So they're really helpful when aligning object respectively to the artboard or also to each other. So make sure that the smart guides are active, and those are these line. Can you see them coming up here where they tell me where is the center of my document? Here it is. So now I can with confidence click and drag, and again we have the smart guide that tells me, hey, you're intersecting this anchor here. And same here, we're going to go ahead and intersect the top. So that's how I've created my template. I'm going to zoom out so you can see it. And then I went to the properties panel and I applied a stroke, and I made sure that my stroke is aligned to the inside. So I can literally create a margin inside. I think that what I've done, what I usually do for this document is 40 point for the cover. So you want to make sure just to stay away from the outside. Again, it's also nice to have some breathing space, especially if you're placing a lot of object and text. It just gives you the opportunity of creating a frame that will give some space to your text and your content. And I tend to give a larger one to the outside just because I think it's nice to have more space, especially if you're just using it maybe to place your website. I think that I gave something like 100 here, just like so. Again, I would suggest to make this some nice light color, and maybe like I did a pink. And then you can select this layer, click on the top flyout menu and select template in order to transform it into a template. Here it is. Perfect. So I showed you how to create the template from scratch, so you can go ahead and have fun yourself. In the US, bleed is usually not 0.125 inches, so 1/8 of an inch. Carol is saying yes, correct. Steve is saying a very old Irish guy taught me, and I guess printing machines were prone to more issues back in the day. Well, it's not the printing. So it is the trimming. Now the trim, as I said a couple streams ago, I used to work to a printer before when I started my career in design. And the issue is that whenever the papers are trimmed, they're like, the stack of paper that they trim is like this big. So they have a machine which is called the guillotine, and this machine has a suction with hair that just holds the paper in page. And of course gravity keeps this like massive stack of paper in place. So you got like probably even larger than that. I don't know how many thousands of papers sheets are there, and they move around with this hair that locks them almost like a magnet underneath. So whenever they get trimmed, because they're moving around and they're kept together by hair and they're thin pieces of paper, there is this 3mm possibility of them sliding within themselves in the machine. And that's why when the guillotine comes and chops them all, there might be some of them in the stack that get misplaced, and that's why you get the error. But we work smarter, we have our bleed set in place, so even if we have the error, nobody's ever going to notice because we had that in place. Trim by hand with a knife, and you need a little trim by guillotine and a stack of shift for sure. Clever is saying. Yes. Macron, do you have experience in printing? That's so exciting. Clever is also saying depending on the printer. Absolutely. And by the way, PJ, this is that you see here in pink. This is a margin area, not the bleed area. The bleed is only this red here. Let me go ahead and create a little rectangle there so you can see it. Maybe not in black, so you can actually see it. Let me do it in yellow. So this is the bleed. There we go. I don't want it to get confused because the other one was red as well. So all this little space that runs around between outside the document, here it is. So everything that is contained within this red line outside the margin, this is the bleed. Okay, and by the way, outside the trim, so we have the margin, which are these bright pink one, chunky one, that allow us to frame the content. Then we have the trim line, that's where the paper gets chopped, and then we have the bleed, which is the extension of the background. Fantastic. Speaking of which, it's time to start to have some fun with our background. I'm going to go ahead and hide the template for now. That's a little bit something that I do towards the end. There is something cool that I show a couple of streams ago, and I'm going to go and make sure that there is no more questions there. Yeah, guillotine are really scary. I wasn't allowed to go into the printer and trimming machine. You have to have special shoes as well when you go in such places, but I just sneaked around, and I was really curious when I started. But yeah, definitely ask your printer. Also book a visit to your printer. Don't be shy, especially now that we're allowed to go out again. Make sure to ring your printer, and if you, for example, enjoyed or seen a print that you really like, ask for sample. Ask them to mail you sample, and it's great for them as well because they build a relationship with you. If they send you the sample, they are more likely, they know that you're more likely to go back with them, so they're really happy to build that relationship with you. Don't be shy. Ring up or email, ask for sample, and ask if you can book a visit to any local printer. It's definitely worth it to understand the process. Perfect. So we're gonna go ahead and have some fun with these greeting cards. The first thing that I want to do is to perhaps create a background. Now, something super fun that I showed you the other day, which I think doesn't get enough credit, are the patterns located inside the swatches menu. Again, this is available by default inside Illustrator. I haven't created it, I haven't implemented it. They're there, they come with Illustrator. So what you have to do here is to head to your swatches panel. Again, if you do not see your swatches panel, head to the window menu, make sure that you select swatches, and the swatches panel will pop up. Now, here at the bottom of the swatches panel, you have the option of browse the swatch library menu. Here towards the bottom you have a lot of stuff, and towards the bottom you have what are called patterns, and I'm going to go ahead and select pattern, basic graphics, and textures. So I'm going to leave there for a second for those of you who, like me, maybe when they watch tutorials they want to take a little sneaky snapshot of what we're going to be creating. So go ahead and click on the icon. So patterns, basic graphics, and basic graphic textures, and the panel will pop up. It's just right there. I'm not sure if I can make the icon large. I think that that's as large as it gets. But yeah, as you can see, they are absolutely amazing. Now, before we move forward, we need a shape. In this case, again, I'm just going to go ahead and create a rectangle. And I'm going to go ahead and make sure that I go from the bleed, so outside the trim line, whenever I create my shape. And then with your shape selected, you want to make sure that the fill is in front. So we are definitely dealing with the fill. And if sometimes it happens, if you have the stroke of your box selected and you apply a specific pattern, you cannot really see it because it's there actually being applied at the stroke, which is actually really cool, but you tend not to see it. Again, if that happens and you want to swap the content of the stroke with the content of the fill, the shortcut is Shift X. With Shift X, we can move in between whatever is the color or texture or pattern that is applied to the fill and swap it to the stroke, just like that. And if you want to, now we have this stroke, which is yellow. I'm going to make it a little bit thicker. If you want to get rid of the stroke and make the value null, so transparent, you have two options. You can either select here the none value, or the / will absolutely do the same. So again, select your shape, select either the fill or your stroke. And if you press the / it will make it transparent. Now, if you simply want to swap the control of the fill or stroke, use the X key. So can you see the icon there? I'm just going to zoom in so you can probably see it a little bit better. So the letter X simply allows me to swap in between fill and stroke, fill and stroke, fill and stroke, while the / transform it into none. So here we go. It makes it transparent. Anything that you are unhappy about what you're doing, press the Command Z, and that will allow you to go back to your previous steps. So don't worry, have fun. Let's see if there is any question going on. No, it looks like everybody is talking about printing. I love that printing is such a amazing topic for everybody. I love printing myself. Okay, so that's actually quite a cool background, but I'm looking for something a little bit more festive. That's a little bit too busy. Let's go ahead and explore these graphic templates. They're so cool. So the one that I wanted to use, I think, is that one there, because either the dotted one, I think this is so cute, or this one here, which is called Atch, I think, as well. Let me go ahead. You can hover them and see the name, Atching. So Atching or Gravel Batch, I think they're so cute. I mean, they're all beautiful. It just depends. I think that this is a little bit more festive. It just made me think about confetti dropping down. Again, completely up to you, whatever you want to use. And then what I'm going to do here is press Option Command 8 to zoom out. And here I have my first cover. Now, that's absolutely up to you. You can have that just to the cover, or you can extend it up to the entire front and back. And now look what happened. By me extending and stretching the rectangle, the actual patterns got stretched. So you got two options. One, to simply click on the pattern again so it gets applied. Or if you press Command Z and go back to whatever it was, and then we go ahead and we bring our window menu and then transform. Here it is. The transform panel will allow you to untick scale, stroke, and effect. So if in this case we're simply stretching our rectangle, oops, that shouldn't happen anymore. Let's see why this is happening. In theory, without scaling it, it shouldn't scale. Let me see if I'm forgetting something here. Maybe. Oh, here we go. So I need to make sure that for the pattern, so that's for scale and effect. Duh, we're using a pattern, not an effect. So let's go back to the normal one. Here it is. So in this case, let me zoom in so we can see that a little bit better again. Always the transform panel, so window transform to bring up the panel. And then we're going to go ahead and click on the top menu here. And then from here, we want to transform object only. As you can see now, is set to transform both. So it's transforming the object and the pattern. In this case, if I now select transform object only, probably guys can see on my face, I went like, why is it not working? Now I'm confident to say that is actually working. We are moving and transforming the shape, and the pattern is not transforming. Perfect. So now we have extended this, and I think that's absolutely fine. Perhaps what I will do, and I will get rid of right away, right and quick when I create a postcard, is to use the back. Again, you can have it with or without your little pattern. If you decide not to have the pattern at the back, again, for the same reason, just give it a little bit of extra. So if you know that this is the middle line, give it a little bit of extra, because whenever you fold, we're gonna lose some millimeters here in the fold at the back of the crease. So you will rather to have a little bit of extra at the back rather than not having enough at the front. So again, the creasing also can be a problem. So we want to make sure that you give it a little bit of extra. And if you want to perhaps to make the error less obvious and have fun with it, you can actually just create another rectangle that you might want to use just on top of the crease. Again, depend of the style of postcard. I'm definitely going to create something that is a little bit more fun and funky. So something like a blocky color, it's absolutely fine. Now it looks like this is being placed underneath, and I'm working on the text folder layer, which is very bad. All of this should go actually in the background, but not to worry. That's actually a great opportunity to show you how easy it is to bring everything back to the actual background. Again, simply select your object from the layers menu and drag it inside the background, just like so. You will be able to drag any sort of object that you're working with, and now everything is in the actual background. So now I'm working in the right layer. Again, this is absolutely up to you. I would strongly recommend, if you're just using ELF, to have some sort of break so you know where the crease go, and you have this little funky line that it might show or it might not. Even better, maybe we can create something even a little bit more fun here. Let me go ahead and use the pen tool, which you can activate by pressing the letter P, and then you can hold Shift and press in order to create another anchor point. Here we're working with the pen tool, creating two anchor points for a straight line. I could have used the segment tool, is exactly the same, but all we need here basically is a stroke. To exit from the pen tool, simply press the escape key. And then here, we're going to give a little bit of a weight to our stroke. Make sure that the fill is set to none. And then from the effect menu, we're going to go ahead and use some effect to our stroke. So let's go ahead and select it, and then effect. And then from here, we can distort and transform and give it a little zigzag. So again, that's absolutely up to you, whatever size you want of your zigzag, or whatever, how many ridges you want. That's absolutely up to you. But again, those are all decorative elements that you can use for your card. And I think it's quite fun to have something like that towards the edges. Again, make sure that you bring up your little template where you have the edges of the card, so you know that this zigzag line is actually going to go through the edges, and I think it's quite fun. You can actually add more than one if you want to, and even if it's zigzag, you can always change its color. By the way, all these sort of appearances, oops, make sure that we have our stroke selected because we're still working with a stroke. By the way, if you want to have a look at the difference, maybe to have or not have the zigzag, or if you wish to change this effect, do not go back to the effect. If you actually go back and then try to apply the zigzag again, you won't be, basically it just applies another one. Let's go ahead and set it. See, Illustrator say, hey, there is already a zigzag effect. Make sure that go to the appearance panel, because otherwise we're just going to override this one here. So I'm just going to go ahead and cancel and bring up one of the wonderful panel, in particular the appearance panel. If you have come across the appearance panel before, you will see that this is one of the most amazing useful panel. As you can see, I'm going to go ahead and select one of the stroke, and here we have all the appearance properties set to it. So we can change from here the size of the stroke. We can also change the color automatically here, but also we can turn off this effect. So if you're not happy, or maybe you're working with your client, with your art director, and you're not sure about the zigzag effect, well, you can turn it off and on, up to you. And then if you double click on it, you can now access the zigzag panel. And it looks like I need to have a sip of water. And you can change it here. So here now you can change the size, change the segment, and so on. I'm going to go ahead and click on cancel. Make sure that you click on the preview to see the changes happening live. And you can also move from a sharp corner zigzag to a wavy one. Again, that's absolutely up to you. I'm going to go ahead and cancel because I kind of like the way that it was looking before. And here it is. That kind of sets the split in between the two pages. Here we go. I'm going to go ahead and go back into my layers panel and make sure that everything is sitting in between. Maybe we can move them a little bit more towards the center, just right there. So we know that whenever we fold our card, we're going to have some ridges on the right and some ridges at the back, which I think is quite fun. Don't forget to press Command S to save your document. And as I said, something else that I like doing just to get it off the way, because I tend to forget at the end, is to use the very back to give something, maybe like your Instagram, your website. Of course, if this is for your loved one, you know, maybe you can put a secret message of love, or, you know, made with love for you, whatever you want. I tend to send and create postcard for sale, so I tend to put my website. So again, iamkladi.com. Or maybe you can just simply put @IamKladi, which is my Instagram, or you can put literally whatever you want. Don't forget to double click on it. And in this case, we're working with text. So again, let's bring this back on the top inside the text layer. And we can use any of the amazing font available here for you. I tend to write with something that is usually quite bold and chunky. I like Grotesque's font, but I'm looking for something a little bit more simple. Let's go ahead and have a little look here. Active Grotesque, one of my favorite, nice and bold. Maybe we can dive in and have it even a little bit darker. I'm going to use the black version of it. And again, here, I'm going to make sure that I use, it looks like it's not 100% black. Let me see what's going on in there. Why it's not showing in black. But another thing that I want to do once I have the right size and I've typed all my text is to double click on the text area in order to transform it into a point type. So I will be able to resize it if I wish to do so. Don't forget to use the shift key to resize it proportionally. And I'm going to have it at the bottom of my little template there, and also I want it to be at the center. Maybe I can unlock, so I can select these two and I make sure that I align it horizontally to my little margin there. By the way, the reason why it's showing gray is because I think that these little thing have a white feel. Here it is. So it is actually is black. There's not much headache there. There we go. So if you are using my template and you can see that whatever you're putting underneath, because the template of course is called to hide is at the very top. If you see the colors dull down, is simply because they have a white feel. You can go ahead and set it to none. Absolutely. Perfect. If you're happy with this font, you can use the same font as I did. I'm going to go ahead and see if there is any question from Rob. If you begin building this in RGB, use a black and white texture, then convert to CMYK. Does black becomes a 4-color black or doesn't remain black only? I've never done that, but the main thing is that whenever you're using a black, whenever you're printing, you don't want a black. You want a deep black. So either way, you want to change that black, because a black that is for printing is called rich black or deep black, and is usually as a percentage of magenta or blue inside of it. In fact, let's jump into it. If I'm gonna go ahead and print that, especially with specific printer, the black sometimes can be a little bit transparent, can have a little bit of gray, or it just doesn't look as deep as you want it, like true black. In order to absorb more light, what you want to do is to go ahead and set this black here, which as you can see from the CMYK value. By the way, Rob, great question, because it brought us to have this conversation. What I'll do is just give it like something like 30% of blue, and as you can see, I'm just gonna go ahead and have a copy of this one and just make it like a normal black. Let's see from the swatches panel. So the eye at the moment doesn't really capture the difference of these two blacks. They all look the same, but we know that we added a percentage, and again, you can add both magenta and blue. I usually tend to add blue sometimes up to 60%. There we go. And it just gives you this very, very rich black. Again, you cannot pick it up that on the screen. The light is either on or off on your screen. So that makes it very easy to show a rich black on paper, and makes a massive difference. So thank you so much, Rob, for asking this question. I thought that it was really, really cool that we could actually talk about having a rich black inside your print. So either way, converts it or not, if you're printing, make sure to switch your black into rich blacks. Perfect. So I got my little brand name there. I think that's a little bit too chunky. Maybe I'm gonna send it back into medium. Yeah, that's probably a little bit better, a little bit more subtle, but you can write whatever you want. Command S to save, and it's time to bring in some photo and some decorative elements. So one decorative elements, and by the way, I love this stream because not only I'm going to show you how to create these specific card template in terms of having a template for print, but I can also like bring in like the zigzag. We're talking about the rich black, and we're also going to be talking about grain and texture. I think it's really, really cool. So the beauty of working and having actually a print file inside Illustrator is that you can actually add some vector shapes, and I'm going to start with something very, very simple. By pressing the letter L, I can access the ellipse tool, and in this case I'm going to go ahead and lock my text, lock my background, and move inside of my graphic elements here, and I'm going to click and drag while holding the shift key in order to access the ellipse tool, and click and drag while holding shift to keep proportion constrained and create a circle instead of an ellipse. Then I'm going to use my eyedropper tool to lift this orange color, and look at that. Not only lifts the orange color, but also lift the effect. I'm not looking for this specific effect. I just wanted to use the color. So Shift X, which is the shortcut that I asked you before to use before, and we're going to move this color to the actual feel from the stroke, and then we can always access our appearance panel and say, hey, look, we don't really want to use the zigzag here, so you can turn it off if you're unsure, or if you're sure, you can simply bin it. Oh, by the way, let's see how a smooth corner will look like. I don't even know if that's possible. No, that's why I would just, yeah, no, it doesn't look as nice as I want it, but that's actually could be nice for like a stamp, or maybe if it's a birthday, you can create this little like sort of badges looking like. But in this case, I'm just going to go ahead and click on the bin. I do not want that specific effect. I just want a shape. I'm just going to keep it simple for this. Now, how to add a grain to have some depth, some movement, and really take advantage of working here in Illustrator. Well, the first thing that I'm going to do is to duplicate this specific shape. Command C to copy. Command F, that will be Control C, and of course Control F if you're working on a window machine, to paste in front. And then I'm going to go ahead and from the window menu bring up another panel which I love, which is called transparency panel. Here, let me move all these panels away. Here from the transparency panel, we can go ahead and select make a mask. Once you make, first of all, let's change color. Here we go. So we change color. We have our shape behind us. There, oops, here it is. If we select make a mask, you will see that automatically the area that you have selected with your circle, your pink circle, will become a mask. A mask works like a cutout, so it's actually using the shape as a cutout and is only going to show through the shape. So let's now go and click inside the mask. So we are literally using these little thumbnails. You can see you can toggle in between the shape and the mask. So this is literally what is contained inside the mask. I'm going to press the letter M to create a rectangle. So M will allow it to access the rectangle tool, and I'm going to click and drag to create this rectangle. And as you can see, because the mask is active, the rectangle will only show through the mask, and because the mask has got the circle shape, it will only show through the specific shape. Now I'm going to press the letter G to activate the gradient tool. You can also access the gradient tool for the gradient option here from the properties panel. Go ahead and select linear gradient, and you can place it, click and drag anywhere in order to apply this gradient. Now remember, the reason why we don't see black and white is because this gradient is a mask. Everything that is black allows you to is hidden, and everything that is white is coming through the mask. So not only we have the mask that works like a cutout, but also we have the gradient, which is a further refined way of showing only part of this mask. And now one more step, make sure that your mask is selected, head over effect, and here we're going to move into texture and into grain. So again, effect, Photoshop effect, texture, and grain. And once you head here, you want to make sure to select the stippled grain, which basically gives you the stippled effect. And I try to keep the contrast quite low. Same for the intensity. It just makes your gradient a little bit more smooth. I see people do things very intensely. It just looks very computery, digitalized. So keep things subtle is my suggestion. But again, that's absolutely up to you. Whenever you work on your design, that's totally subjective. When you're done, go ahead and click on OK. And look at that, we have applied this gorgeous grain to our design, and the funkiness is literally more and more there. You can go ahead and select it as many times as you want from many different directions. That's absolutely up to you. Kind of light it like that, and we have this first gradient with also a grain. So I'll show you how to add a text, how to set up the file, how to add texture, how to add graphic elements like lines, and transform it with appearances affected like a zigzag, turn it on and off, our changes by using the appearance panel. Then we added a shape, and actually, because we're doing this here together, we're gonna move in and I'm gonna show you how to use the mask for a photo as well. But I want to share something with you, which is really excited. I'm really excited about this project. As I said, I'm doing a 1-minute tutorials on my Instagram, is iamkladi.com. I'm probably gonna jump into it, but I want to give you a little preview. I was playing with these shapes and I want to show you literally what I've done here with the sun, how far you can take it. And it's a tutorial just on how to use shape. Let's see if I can find it here. I don't know if my video editor, hi Jamie, is gonna be happy about that, because I'm not sure if this reel is actually finished, but I'm so excited to give you a preview. Let's see if that's actually approved. You can see all my content here. Let's see, where is it at? I think it's for review. Here it is. We're gonna have a review together. No, I'm not gonna show you the reel. I'm actually gonna show you the Illustrator file. But here it is. So the reel is coming up next week, and it's all about how to create design using shape. Here it is. our little Douglas. We call it Douglas. Sometimes whenever I design specific animals, we always like try to give it a name inside. Probably could have showed you the design assets here in terms of final photos, but that's an actual file of how I work. So you literally get the real Kladi work in progress thing. So that was the original one. They're literally shapes, circles, squares, and all sort of stuff. And maybe we can do next how to. Let me know in the chat, because I'm actually planning next how to. Let me know if you want to do something like that, like how to create using shape and line, just like that. So I can literally show you how to create something like that for yourself. And then I've used the same technique here that we used before. Can you see the stippled grain that is applied to our little Lima there? Perfect. So again, those are more assets. That's his little nose. In the video, you will see that the little nose, I'm actually quite, let's see if I can do like a full preview. I'm afraid that Jamie is going to probably kill me because that's not been haired yet. Let's see, maybe I should just leave it there. I don't know if that's probably, I'm just going to show you this little bit. I know I can show you this. That's just his little nose, the little heart going to the nose. But this is like a full reel that is going to come up on Instagram. There we go. And that's the end of the reel where we have created a heart and then it goes into the Lima's face. But again, this is just to say this is all Illustrator. Those are all shape. In fact, let me just go ahead and show you real quick how to create a heart. Oh gosh, we have like 4 minutes to go. Let's jump into the photo. I think the photo is more important than the heart. The heart I can show you right away towards the end real quick. So don't forget, and that's a question that I get all the time and I literally forgot myself. Here, after you apply the stipple grain and you're working with the mask, you always have to click back into the shape. Otherwise, it looks like your Illustrator is stuck. It's just because you are inside the container of the mask. So make sure always to click on this thumbnail and then you're back and you're free to design and draw whatever you want. Right, I'm gonna go ahead and click on the M tool to activate the rectangle, M key on my keyboard to activate the rectangle tool, and I'm gonna press the letter A to go ahead and click and select 2 of this corner widget in order to create this little almost dome shape that we can use for our photo. I'm gonna double click here on the color picker and maybe select a color which is like a turquoise, just like that, fits nice with our color panel. If you want to make sure that you center it, you can always go back to your layers and unlock this little frame here that we have. So select the frame, Alt Shift, and select your little item. Make sure to click on the frame to use that as a reference object and then click on center. So now you have here a guideline so you know that this little dome is at the center. We can go back and hide it. Maybe we should have used the little guide to bring it up as well. Perfect. What I'm going to do here in order to use that as a container of my frame is to go ahead and start to bring in an image. I've seen that we had something from the library here. I used that for one of the stream before. I think there was like an album cover. Oh, guys, I wanted to show you so much. I wanted to show you how to edit images in Photoshop and so on. I cannot believe where the time is gone. Let's see if I can risk it and do it in Photoshop. I'm going to go ahead and open a new file. Make sure that you select actually for print before you go. I think that I'm really pushing it here. Let's go ahead and click on new file, select for print, and then I'm going to go ahead and use our A4 orientation and click on create. Again, by using print, we're going to start to have our Photoshop bringing our assets for print. Let's see if we can bring up our libraries. Now, the beauty is that if you work in Photoshop and you have your photo first in Photoshop, let's see if I can find the library with our image. If not, we're just gonna, yeah, here it is, album challenge. Perfect. So you can go ahead and bring in this photo inside your document inside Photoshop. If you save this document and then you edit it, so let's real quick do something very fast to this image. I'm gonna first of all make sure that I center it. Oh, my computer is saying, Kladi, you're going too fast. We're gonna crush. So let's go ahead and press Command T to transform. Let's bring up our layers panel so we can have a look at what is going on here with our image. We can actually save this document. Why is it not letting me move it? Here it is. And then I want to make it a little bit bigger. if I make this one into a smart object, where is a smart object? Convert to smart object, and then I'll go to the filter menu, and maybe with the filter, camera raw filter, I'll make some changes like to the image. So for example, it looks like here I need to dull down and I need to reveal more of the item that are hidden in the highlights and in the shades. So you can just literally bump up the highlights so you can reveal items that are under the highlights and the shadows, just like so. Maybe opening a little bit the exposure, maybe a little bit more vibrance. Just press on OK. So we made these changes to the image and click on OK. I'm going to go ahead and use the shift. I'm going to go ahead and use the command S to save it. And I'm going to save it automatically into my Creative Cloud. I'm going to call it Sunflower. Perfect. And click on Save. Now, once I jump back into Illustrator and I want to add an image, I'm going to go ahead and select File and Place. And from here, I can go ahead and actually open this document from the Open Cloud document. And I'm going to go ahead and select Sunflower. Make sure that it's linked. And I'm going to click on Place. And then I'm going to click and drag to place my image over here. Now, you want to have the image below the shape in order to use it as a mask. So I'm going to literally bring the image back by using the command shift left bracket, and then hold the shift key to select them both, command 7 to use that graphic as a little cover. You can always double click on it to reposition it and of course resize it. But the magic that I wanted to show you with Photoshop is that if we now go to our window menu and we select links, we can see that we have our sunflower that is actually updating there. Now, if the document is open on Photoshop and I do something crazy like apply, let's say, I use saturation adjustment and I select this little yellow color and I want to change the hue to the sunflower to something crazy like purple or green. Let's make it purple just so it's very visible. And then I go ahead and I press on save. And I'm not saying that the image is made better, but it's just very visible change. Once I go back into my Illustrator file, you can see that it's still updating. It might will take a second. It looks I'm on the wrong internet. Let's go ahead and try to swap to a fastest internet here at my studio. If I go ahead and click this little refresh and apply link, look at that. If we modify the images, that was too worth it, you guys, to show you. If you update the images as many times as you want inside Photoshop, you will be able to, let's see now, you know what? I thought that that was a silly idea. We do not want these flowers to be red. We want them to be, oh, it looks like I'm changing everything here. Let's go ahead and use this little color picker to pick a specific color, or maybe let's do something even a bit more bonker. I know I'm stretching time, but we're gonna make it because things are fast here. So if we go ahead here and we use something like sky replacement on our photo, let's do that real quick. Again, I'm not saying that I'm improving this photo, which is actually really, really nice, but let's pretend that we want to change the sky. We want these little clouds, whatever. Looks great. Let's click on OK. And again, press Command S to save. Maybe we can get rid of this hue and saturation. So we just change the sky and now we have the sunflower going back to yellow. Head back to Illustrator. Make sure that you select your file and you use this little refresh to update the link. First of all, it gives me the first version, which was the one with the, probably I need to save again. It looks like I didn't save after I undo the hue and saturation. Remember, it always save because it will bring you the saved version. Again, refresh, and boom, here it is. We have changed the sky, changed the color of the flower twice, and edited the image so it looks a little bit more nice and visible and is ready for our greeting card. I know we didn't go over to text. I'm sure that we're gonna have much more fun here. There are more how-to coming through. I really hope that you guys enjoy this stream. There are so many tips and tricks that I like to show you. In this case, now all you have to do is to export as a PDF. To print, all you have to do is Shift Command S to save as PDF, or you can also export, I believe, as, and then you could export as a PDF format. Let's see if that's the right way to go. Probably not. Let me see if it's save as, and then save on your computer And here it is. You have the Adobe PDF format, and then you choose the location of your card, click on save. And then here, what you want to choose is the high quality for print. You want to activate your trim and your bleed documents, and then simply click on save PDF. So now your card is ready to be sent to the printer with the braid marks. We have our line coming outside with our pattern coming outside. Everything is safe to go. You got your name, you got your photo, you have edited your photo in Photoshop. And I think that's unfortunately it for today. I'm going to be back with how-to. Let me know if you want more how-to, if you want to learn how to work with vector. As usual, it's my absolute pleasure to be here with you guys. I have a ton of fun. Don't forget that on my Instagram, I do share a ton of advice in a form of reels. So go ahead and give me an hello. A big bye to everybody, and don't forget that we have our lovely Voodoo Val coming with graphic design, glow up, and more fun as usual at Adobe Live. Thank you so much for sticking with me. Go and grab a glass of water, and I will see you very soon here on Adobe Live. Ciao!